The 41-year-old posted a number of false conspiracy theories about Jewish people over a 24-hour period, comparing them to the Ku Klux Klan. He claimed they are at war with black people and even suggested they deserve to be shot. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has since responded, saying the anti-Semitic posts from Wiley are abhorrent. Social media companies must act much faster to remove such appalling hatred from their platforms. Earlier, I spoke to Karen Pollock from the Holocaust Educational Trust and started by asking her how she felt when she read his comments.
I think on Friday, I was aware that there were some abusive posts on Twitter, which were very disturbing to see. I then became aware of these posts on Instagram, where Wiley was really speaking face to camera, ranting anti-Semitic abuse, real incitement, I think. And on a personal basis, I see this, I see anti-Semitic abuse a lot, unfortunately. But even when I saw this footage, I found it really horrifying. I think more than that, it's just that I know that Instagram in particular, used by so many young people, it's going to really affect them. Some friends of mine, their teenage children, were really upset by it and asked, you know, why do they hate us? Why do they hate Jews? My own nephews and niece who are younger but were aware of it because it had been all over Instagram and Twitter and had stayed there for endless hours.
We asked Facebook, who represents Instagram, what they said. They said there's no place for hate speech on Instagram and they've blocked access to Wiley's account for 7 days. Twitter said a similar thing. Abuse and harassment has no place on Twitter. Wiley's been locked out for 7 days. Is that enough?
Well, of course, they're right that it doesn't have a place on these social media sites, as it shouldn't in society as a whole. But why does it take so long for them to take some action? You know, a policy can't mean anything if it doesn't have consequences. The duty of care has to go beyond pointing to a policy, but actually what they do. You know, for me, I don't really want to be talking about anti-Semitism and about how it feels as a Jew and for the Jewish community. But, you know, when you see these things from Wiley, it can't help but hurt. But more to the point, you know, I know that we're not the only minority who are fed up of witnessing abuse, intimidation and hate on these sites. And I think it really is up to these social media sites to take responsibility, actually.
Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, said that this was particularly disheartening because social media had played a really positive role in amplifying voices in the Black Lives Matter movement recently. Is that something you would agree with?
Social media can be a real force for good and a force for change. You know, I believe that the majority of people in this country are good, decent people who are not racist. But the fact is, when there are anti-Semitic and hateful and racist elements that are allowed to share their points of view on Twitter and on Instagram, and it's just left unchecked, unfortunately, it suggests that this is somehow acceptable, and it just isn't. You know, I think about this a lot because, you know, I'm joining this 48-hour walkout because I think it sends a message that, you know, this matters. But sometimes I think to myself, why go back on? Because it is exhausting, and I know that a lot of people have just had enough of it.
Some people say that a walkout on Twitter isn't the right thing to do, that staying silent won't silence prejudice. Do you think it can be effective?
I completely understand people saying, well, if we walk away, then it somehow leaves a void. I get that. But this is for 48 hours. I think silence can actually be quite loud if it's done in this orchestrated, united way.
That's the online companies. What about Wiley, the man himself? Do you think he should be stripped of his MBE?
He received an honour for his for good deeds, if you like, in his contribution to this country. And I suppose the question is, has he shamed that after this, you know, over 24 hours tirade? I'd say yes.
OK, thank you very much for joining us, Karen.
Thank you.